The biggest mistakes I find investors make, and this is where people go wrong all the time, not consulting their accountant before planning to buy an investment. Leah, you might have something to say on that.
I guess the one thing I will say is that every property is different. And so I always say to every client, even though you have a rental property and it might be owned 50-50 with your spouse, it won't mean that we will always do the next one. That I always like to analyse what the property is going to do initially, maybe 5 years out. And so we can make sure that we structure it correctly, whether you buy it individually, put it in a family trust, set up a self-managed super fund. So I would say that just because you buy a property one way for a particular reason doesn't mean the next one should be the same.
Fabulous. And it's good that you don't have a hard and fast rule for every property, because I do find people sometimes come to us and they have very low structure and PAYG incomes, and an accountant saying, oh, you have to have a trust for every property and it's all separate, and then they've got to have a tax return for everyone. And I don't see many average investors making a lot of money out of that formula for investing. What have you found? Often make a lot of money.
Yeah, no, often the one property, one trust. I mean, it happened in Victoria for years and years and years, but then obviously grouping came into it. But still in, say, Queensland, a lot of it is around other taxes, say land tax, to avoid paying higher land tax, because if you've got one property in one entity, then you get the lowest threshold and you start over again. So that's usually the reason one property, one trust happened in the past.
You can also get your lending siphoned into one entity so that the lending in that entity is not counted against the next one. So that can be useful sometimes too, but adds a deal of complexity that can make it difficult too. But you need to decide that before you come and see us for a loan. So you need to have those meetings with your accountant prior to doing that. That's what I'd definitely recommend. So not deciding on what they're trying to achieve with the property and why. Like you said, we need to look at properties, Leah, 1 to 5 to 10 years out. Are we going to keep it long term? Are we short term? And what's our intention and why? Not just, oh, I need to buy an investment property, because we get that a lot. Not having a plan if things go wrong. Oh my gosh. And when money gets tight, the 𝗚HURI is the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute, who do a lot of research in this area. And their key takeaway for property investors is most investors fail because they sell too early. And that's a key takeaway from their research, that they've found if you can hold a property much longer, then write it out and you'll do fine. But the problem is most fail because they sell within 1 or 5 years. Thinking the interest rate is the only thing that matters. That's another key problem. People come to us, oh no, it has to be whatever and that's what I need. And sometimes a means to an end might be just to pay a bit more, get the right deal and move on and make your money out of that particular property. Sometimes waiting around and thinking you need to borrow at this rate, that can slow things down and that doesn't help you. Selling before the property has had time to grow. That's the key problem. Not trusting experts in their field, because you don't know what you don't know, and you might not even know the questions, and people will go on to Google and get overwhelmed by all the information. You just need to find someone you trust. Also, we'd say you've got to work with someone you really like to talk to. So get into finding someone both in finance and accounting who you can actually ask questions that don't feel like dumb, because you're just asking them and you're allowed to ask them. So until you understand. I often ask dumb questions of Leah, and she's great and patient with me answering questions. That's why I know. And blaming everyone but their own spending when things get tight. I've found that to be a big problem too. People go, oh, it's that investment property. It cost me a couple of $1,000s this year and that really blew it out. And I'd say it probably isn't just that, it's probably something else altogether. Well, let's have a look at your complete spending and then I can tell you where things are going wrong for you. So don't hesitate to get help on that too. I love this cartoon, this picture from despair.com. It could be that the purpose of my life is only to serve as a warning to others, and I'm just letting you know that I've made many, many mistakes, and that's why I'm such an expert in getting out of them.